As we look forward to spring, we dream of our gardens in that full, beautiful bloom. Well, in preparation, we can turn our love for flowers into a fun DIY. Grab those gardening gloves. My next guest shares how to make your very own seed bombs, little nuggets of nature made from seeds and air dry clay. Robyn Chubey is a gardener, photographer, teacher, and all-around creative, and she's joining us via Zoom to share this fun gardening project. Welcome to the show, Robyn.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be on here.
We're happy to have you. Now, gardening and flower-based hobbies, I feel like they're really taking off right now. What pulled you into the gardening space? What brought you in?
So I've been gardening basically my whole life. My parents had a garden center when I was younger that was seasonal that I worked at since I was, little kid. And so as someone who's been involved in gardening and around plants all the way until I had my own homes, urban gardens, all the way up till now when I have, acreage and probably 100 gardens here, I have just been loving the new trend that has started with everyone coming on board and being really into gardening and nature crafts and just all the things that I've loved all the way along and that I get to share now.
Robyn, these pictures have my mouth dropped. They are stunning, gorgeous. It's easy to see your talent and your eye for that photography as well. But we've seen seed bombs, we've seen this concept in the past. The interesting thing to us was you use air dry clay to make these seed bombs. Tell us a little bit more about that. How did you discover that? Why does it work so well?
So air dry clay, actually, it's a natural earth clay. So not to be confused with the sort of play clay and polymer clays that people will use and allow to air dry. This is a natural earth clay. So you can actually search for that when you're looking. Michael's stores carry it. You'll want to make sure that it says that on the label, which means that essentially clay comes from the earth. So you can make your own clay. You can even Google how to make your own clay from the soil that's in your area if you want to get really naturey. But basically what happens is when the clay becomes moist and wet and in the rains, it'll start to dissolve. And within that clay seed bomb will be your compost and your soil and your seeds. And because it's going to start to take on water slowly, the seeds will start to take on moisture slowly. And then as it starts to burst open, there they are. They've, been pre-moistened. They've maybe started to germinate, and then they will start to grow where it is that you've left these little seed bombs.
Oh, that is so cool. I love every single little step in there. I think it's time. I think now, can you show us how to make one of these adorable seed bombs?
I would love to. So essentially, you're just going to take a chunk of clay. This is so simple, which is why it's such a great craft to do with your friends, with your kids. You're going to, if the clay is a little dry and a little, kind of gets like little cracks in it, you can just wet it a little bit. And then you're just going to kind of smooth it out into a disc. So it's really, what you're hoping for is that it's very, very thin, because obviously the thicker that your clay is, the longer it's going to take to dissolve. Once you have your circular disc in your hand and it's really nice and you can kind of see here the thinness, you can take your soil and then your seed mix. Now your seed mix will be dependent on your area. So I'm using a Canadian wildflower seed mix. You can make your own seed mixes from any native plants that are in your area, or you can just go to your local garden center. You can look on Amazon for native seed mixes for your area. Now, I've chosen one that's drought tolerant as well, because if you leave this somewhere where the flowers are not going to get a ton of water, then they're not going to be able to germinate and grow in that area. So kind of keeping that in mind, if you're throwing your seed bombs into a ditch where there's going to be water all the time, having a seed mix that's going to have shade plants and plants that like water is going to be better. If you want drought tolerant, you're throwing it in a field, you're throwing it somewhere where they're going to germinate in hot sun, then having a drought tolerant seed mix is great. So you put in your seeds, a whole bunch of them into the middle, you mix that with your soil, and then you're just going to basically fold it over and turn it into, I made little heart shapes. So like this is a finished one.
Oh, so cute.
So yeah, you want to fold it over so that all the soil and everything is inside, and then just turn it into a, you got to make sure that it's all the way folded over. And if some of the soil gets into the clay, it doesn't really matter. You turn it into a little, add a little bit more clay.
Oh, so cute.
A little heart shape. And then once you have your little heart, you can just use some water on the top and then take any dried flowers. So I have here some calendula, I have some dried hydrangeas, I have some statice, and then you're just going to press that onto the top of your little heart-shaped seed bomb, and then you just allow that to dry over 24 hours, and then you have a little
Oh,
little bomb
Robyn.
like that.
Robyn, those are both cute, effective, adorable, all the things. We are so grateful. Thanks for joining us today. I understand that gardening is just one of your many creative, talented outlets. Where can we see more of your work?
So you can find me on Instagram at Life of Glow. So that's life_of_glow. You can find me on my website, which is prairieglowacres.com. And coming up soon, you'll be able to find my book that has this craft in it. It's called Gather Together, and that is available for pre-order on Amazon.
I can tell it's going to be a beautiful book. Thanks so much for sharing with us.
Thank you.